Yeah, my daughter's a good surfer. I mean, she
No way.
She came in 4th place last week
Can you
at a surf contest. A little bit, you know, but
Where did she get surfing from?
I mean, I used to take her out. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely from me. But she goes probably 3 times a week now. She's like super into it. And
Dawn Patrol?
no, she goes in the afternoon with her.
yeah.
She goes with a bunch of other kids, and so it's like after school.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she loves it. Yeah, she came in 4th place out of 5 people. So
Whatever.
this is
all right.
still epic. She showed up.
I got second to last in my first skate event.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Second to last?
Second to last. Out of like 40 people.
What was the competition, like a vert or?
It was bowl.
Okay.
Yeah. 12 and under, unsponsored, 1A category.
You showed them.
Whatever. Yeah, got
I think
Welcome. Here we go.
And I'm not Tony Hawk.
John Feldmann is here.
Yeah.
From Goldfinger.
Woo! Thanks for having me.
I love your
Yeah.
shoes, man.
Oh, thanks. Rick Owens, dude. Mod's son turned me on to these. He's like, dude, Rick Owens is the best.
That's my color too.
Yeah, Pepto-Bismol pink.
Can't go wrong with it.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm getting my car that color.
Are you really?
Yeah.
What kind of car?
Wait, I thought you gave up on the pink
M3.
color.
I'm doing a Ken Block rap
Uh,
of his
Yep.
Unicorn in pink. And then I'm gonna change, I'm not gonna have the sponsors. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
have a monster logo
cool.
on it. But yeah, I'm gonna.
So weird. We
do
were in
that.
Deer Valley like 2 months ago, and Dingo actually hooked me up with Ken Brock.
You friends with Dingo?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
That's my guy.
2 days before he passed, you know, it
Right.
was crazy.
Oh, wow.
Crazy. What a weird world we live in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
don't,
was
I don't like
awful.
that one at all.
I saw Dingo at Ken's service, and he's like, "Oh man, I'm going to see you on Saturday." I go,
Yeah.
"What are you talking about? What's Saturday?" And he's like, "Goldfinger." I go,
That's right.
How do you know about that? No one knows about that. Like you and I knew about that. That was it.
I know, because Nick Gross is the drummer in my band, and he's really tight with Dingo.
Yeah.
So he must have told Dingo that's how it happened, you know?
I saw a video on his story on Instagram of
us
you singing,
warming up.
and
Yeah.
I was like, "What? Wait,
Yeah, that's it.
you're all there?"
Yeah.
Yes, 6 degrees.
Yeah.
That
You
was fun.
You definitely sang.
That was fun,
You were
man.
there.
That was really
Yeah.
fun. So, what we're talking about is that I got invited to sing Superman at the Goldfinger show recently at House of Blues in Anaheim. And I had sang that song with one of the THPS cover bands in London, the 900 band.
Because he's a professional singer. This
'Cause
is
they-
not
and
his.
that was a
We're calling
surprise
it
of-
singing? Is that what we're calling it?
Was that?
I said, are we calling it singing? What
I don't
you
know.
did?
Yeah, you are.
Is that what it
You
was?
killed it.
I was gonna say,
smashed it.
It's my karaoke, whatever, Rockstar
You're,
fantasy.
yeah.
Yeah.
For how good of a skateboarder you are, you're an excellent singer.
Oh, thank you. It was fun. Honestly, I watched the performance back. I was like, all right.
It was great.
It was fun though.
Who is the greatest
appreciate it.
professional skateboarding singer? It's me, isn't it?
Sure. Yeah. You got it.
Yeah. Who else can sing like Tony?
I don't know.
Right?
But it was really cool hearing you tell the story about Superman.
Yeah.
Before that, because I had heard bits and pieces of it when you talked about it. Well, you tell the story.
Yeah, who would have known back then that like a video game would change the trajectory of a rock band, you know, back in in the late 90s or 2000. When was it?
99.
99?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, who would have thought? I mean, I had no idea. I didn't know that it was going in this. I mean, I'd written the song. Was living in Santa Monica, and I wrote the song. There's a song called "Question" on our second album, Hang Ups. And then I wrote "Question" and Superman. I was going to be like this kind of big 10-minute long opus, like this big idea. And I cut them into 2 songs. And Superman just became this thing because of the game. Like we were on tour in England, and I had no idea that he was even in the game. We're on tour with the Bloodhound Gang, which is kind of some random band, you know. And all of a sudden, like we played, like people were just standing there watching the show. Halfway through, we played Superman, and the place just circle pit, and everyone's stage diving, and it just goes ballistic. And after the show, I'm like, what is going on with Superman? And we called the label.
It
and
was
said,
just in the
died.
set. It wasn't like the last song.
It was in the middle of the set.
Yeah.
We had no idea. It was just a random song that was on our second album. And it just became like this, I don't know, because of the video game. It just changed everything. So grateful for
That's
that.
so cool. Do you think that people came knowing that you guys wrote that song?
100%. 100%.
No, but I'm saying you're saying that there wasn't much happening until that song came. But
the
they
video
came,
game changed,
but
like
they-
in England.
Right.
I mean, England was like, I don't know. I mean, at that point in time, like skate punk and ska punk and that whole movement was so huge at that time, and it just was this perfect storm of everything just happening. You know what I mean?
It's funny to think that that song may not even have been included in your set.
It wouldn't have. Yeah,
Because you didn't even know.
No, I had no idea.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, I mean, since then, it's like everyone, I don't know, like that game just changed everything for me, you know?
Did that for
in
a
my
few
band.
people.
It was, yeah, a lot of people. I've never even played it.
It's so weird.
That's the best quote. Do you have that? I've never even played it.
I love how pumped you are that he didn't play it.
I do. I love that.
You're so stoked. Because people would never say that, even if they didn't. Like, you wouldn't
there
bring
are
it up.
skaters that have been in the game. They're like, yeah, I played a couple times.
Oh, and they're in it.
They're in it. They're characters. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not
funny.
naming names.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I'm in it. I mean, I've seen it. Like our drummer at the time was a huge addict. So the back lounge of the bus, he'd always have it. And there's a visual of me in a suit. And I'm like, you know, dancing in the background of the first, like wherever you go in the beginning of the game.
Right.
So I'm in it as well, which is like, yeah.
Did you watch that?
I've seen that part of
Right.
it, yeah, for sure.
How many
Darren-
times did you see that part?
I saw when he showed it to me once. He's like, this
And
is
you were like,
epic.
good,
I'm
that's me in the game?
That's me in the game, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm a
rad.
hidden character in one of the games, and I gave that a thorough going over. I played myself
Oh, you did?
a lot, and I do in his game. I'm not good at doing technical stuff and getting a lot of points, because all I want to do is try to recreate me.
Real tricks.
Yeah, real tricks.
That's me.
I just try to do my lines that I would do, and obviously they're way better because it's in the video game and I'm not old.
Yeah.
So it's like flying around like me again.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you skate still?
Yeah. Not as good, but
I skated in high school. I mean, I started bleaching my hair because of Dwayne Peters. It was like Thrasher magazine was how we found every band.
Yeah.
You know, like Frontier Records was like I discovered Adolescence and TSOL, Circle Jerks, all those bands through Thrasher.
No
That
way.
was it.
Sick.
But it was like when I got kicked out of high school when I was a junior.
What'd
and
you
I was-
do?
I just failed at all classes. I just didn't show up. I was smoking weed and drinking, and I was like a total degenerate, you know, the worst. And we skate this hill called Pepper Lane, and it was like you could get going about probably 20, 25. You could just right around speed wobble territory.
Yeah.
And I was drunk, and I just like did a face plant, and like for like 6 months I had full,
Oh, yeah.
you know, cherries
Yeah.
all over my face, and I'm like from that point on, I'm like I don't think I'm designed to be a skateboarder.
Were you angry as a kid?
Yeah, for sure.
Like getting into drinking and all that stuff at a young age? What was your beef with the world?
I mean, my dad was brutal. I mean, he was a nuclear physicist, so he had this.
Whoa.
Smartest guy I ever met was my dad, you know. But he had polio when he was 17, so he was in a
What's
wheelchair.
polio? Sorry.
Polio is like where you get paralyzed. So his left leg and his right leg and his left arm were paralyzed. So he's in a wheelchair.
The whole, like your childhood, he was like that.
17. He caught it at 17. He was the last guy to catch polio in America.
Oh,
So
No
he
way.
was definitely resentful, for sure.
So-
and look, he did the best he could, and it's like I've given up like blaming anybody.
Yeah, I get
I've
that.
taken responsibility
Yeah.
for my own life. But I mean, he was very like, this is what you do. You go to school, you get a job, and this is the plan. And I was like playing the bass guitar in punk bands when I was a kid, and he's like, this is not happening. And then I just dropped out of school and got kicked out of my home.
you
and
didn't
all that.
agree with him? Like it sounds like whatever he said to do, you wanted to do something else?
Oh, for sure.
Right. Was
Yeah.
it because of the way that he treated you think? Or
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I probably found punk rock because of rebelling against my dad. That was the initial part of it, you know. And he was like, "You're never gonna make it in the music business," and
Right, and that
so
would've-
part of it was
right.
my drive to
Right.
prove him wrong.
Yeah.
all of it, you know.
Yeah.
But in the end, you know, before he died, I mean, I was at his deathbed. We had the death rattles, you know. But at the end of life, sometimes you get these shakes, and I held him and I said the Lord's Prayer, and it was like I sent him off into the other wherever with him, and it was all good, clean.
Oh, that's
you know,
cool.
and that's fucking really cool. From
did
where
that
we
like
came
feel like a better, like after that you felt like something that was off your shoulders, kind of off your chest, like you got something
100%.
feel
Yeah.
like you cleared it up finally
100%.
once and for
But
all.
you made peace also with that he acknowledged your success.
Yeah, I think part of it too is like, how do you really forgive your parents until you have your own kids? And then when you have
Yeah,
your
wow.
own kids, it's like you realize how much you care about something else. I mean, there's nothing I care about more than my kids. And
Right.
and I realized how I was so brutal. I mean, I was the worst. I was punching holes in walls and running away, cutting myself with razor blades. I was
wow.
like a real
On a mission.
on a mission.
And then
Again,
what was the music saved you from? Like what
Music was
changed you from? Are you still angry? Like you have a temper and shit?
Well, you were just telling me before we started. You were just telling me how before you go on tour, you stop caffeine for 2 weeks.
Oh yeah,
which is
that gets me angry.
I mean, I've heard of some crazy
yeah.
stuff. That seems really crazy to me, considering how much intake I have of caffeine.
yeah,
I feel like that would just cause me headaches and stress and yes.
yeah. Caffeine is definitely. I'm definitely an addict, start to finish.
But you go
Whatever.
cold turkey for 2 weeks. You said, or-
Before I go
tour.
on tour, I'll quit caffeine. My doctor told me the acid reflux is messing with my vocal cords, and so he says 2 weeks, stop caffeine. That's matcha, everything, cut it out, and then I just do vocal warm ups. But yeah, caffeine is definitely, yeah. You can see my angry side those 2 weeks before a tour for sure. Ask my wife. Yeah,
Wait, and then you can drink coffee once you get on tour?
know when I'm done. But
Okay.
we only play like, we have a world's record. We did 385 shows in 1996. We have a world's record for most shows played in a touring band. We would do like an
more than a show a day.
yeah, afternoon show for the kids and then a night show for the adults, and just we went hard. And now we don't. We play like 20 shows a year probably.
Yeah.
So it's okay. Yeah.
You made it through.
yeah.
Because that sounds like that's not a thing that you could continue. Doing shows every day of the entire year.
Dude, I've herniated, C5, 6 herniated disc. I've had 5 surgeries on my knees, like ACL reconstruction, the whole thing. Because we're not like
ACL reconstruction.
yeah,
from,
all of it.
From jumping up and down.
Yeah. From we were playing a show in Spokane, and I was jumping off the monitor, and they turned off the lights, and I landed, and I heard it pop. It was like in my head, in my in-ears, I heard it pop, and I'm like, I just knew it was over, and I had to get. So I got a cadaver's ACL in me.
Yeah, I got one of those.
You got the same thing?
I got a
from skating.
cadaver MCL. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that runs rampant in our business.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Did you continue
cadavers.
singing?
Yeah, we finished the show, of course.
You could get up.
I mean, it was like super wobbly. It felt, there was no
dude,
like,
yeah, I know what it is.
that whole thing, and I just,
So you
we finished it.
Stayed stationary for the rest of the set.
Just hung out and I was like, I went right to the emergency room. They took an X-ray and they were like, "You're screwed."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my!
yeah.
That's a skate story.
I
Yeah.
know.
But
That's
it's like
very
that.
kindred in skating.
I mean, growing up, it was like all the shows that I saw. It was always like Jack from TSOL, and I mean everybody like Keith from Circle Jerks. It was like ballistic.
Yeah.
You just go as hard as you can. And that's what you do on stage. You go really hard. And these days, I see bands that aren't really that passionate, and I'm just like, what's happening?
Yeah.
How do you not just everything that you have?
Yeah.
In whatever you do.
What was the first hint of success that you had?
We played. What turned it for me is we played our church. We played. I was 12, and my band was called Family Crisis, of course. And we played, St. Andrew's Church, and it was like we opened with Sex Pistols' "Anarchy" in the UK, and it starts out, "I am the Antichrist" at my church, and I watched the priest just. He like puts his hands on his head to run over to unplug the fucking PA. And I'm like, this is what I have to do the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Right here. That was like my first taste of like what it's like.
Did they shut you down?
They shut us down. Immediately shut us down.
So
it was
great.
like one song in and I knew it,
It's what our very first Huck Jam tour started with that song in the intro. And I realized at some point on tour, like, the very first thing anyone sees or hears of our show is "I am the Antichrist."
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's so gnarly. The Sex Pistols were so gnarly they would never exist in 2023.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like they'd be canceled immediately, from the t-shirts to everything. It would just be, and they changed my life. I'm friends with Steve Jones, who's a lovely guy, and it's like they changed my life. And it's weird how it all happens. But I guess the first like success I had was like, You know, I was working at Nana on the Promenade. It was a punk rock shoe store. They sold Monkey Boots, Creepers, and Doc Martens. I was working there, and they started playing my song on K-Rock. And like K-Rock was like Rodney on the Rock, my album, that album that had every single like social
Amoeba.
it started with Amoeba.
Bloodstains.
Yeah, all of it.
Yeah.
That was like the record. Rodney and the Rock for Volume 1.
Yeah, same.
Was the record that I found all those fucking bands. And so they played us on K-Rock, which they played all those bands. And Social Source is still my favorite band. Like all that, I was like, it all came together. I was in my Dodge Colt. I'd bought this car for $100 from my grandma. And it was like, it had one of those fuzzy steering wheels that I ripped off.
Yeah.
So like in summer here, my hands would get glued to the steering wheel from all the glue that would be there, you know, and I would just drive around with my Pennywise and NoFX bumper stickers, and it was all on the radio, and I was like, I've made it.
Which
I was
song?
still working. It was Here in Your Bedroom. Was the first song. You know, which
So
I
was
wrote.
was it Rodney on the Rock that played it?
Rodney on the Rock was the first guy to ever play us.
Yeah, that
night.
seemed like in his wheelhouse for sure.
Yeah, for sure. He was such a legend, that guy.
Yeah.
He's still alive, isn't he? I
I think
think.
so. I saw him at a Jane's event, or like a Jane's Addiction sort of celebration thing a while back, 50 years ago. But he was still doing it.
Yeah, that guy cared about all of it, the scene, the bands, the music, everything. You know.
Yeah, that same album with the girl with the ice cream.
Yeah,
Like
that's
that-
the one.
That's it.
So cute. Yeah, but for me, it's like, and it's partly like, if I think about it, and I'm thinking about it right now, like the idea that like I made it, like I had that thought that I made it, and I haven't had to go back to selling shoes since 1994. Like I had that thought. It was like the idea of positive mental attitude that you have that can take you anywhere in life.
Yeah.
It's so huge. It's all about mindset, you know, I believe. And so I just said, like, I was in my car still selling shoes. I made it. And from that point on, like, I haven't had to go back to a $6 an hour job. Dude, women would come in from there's all these senior homes off the promenade, and they'd come in and just show me their boils and corns on their feet. And what do I do about this? And I'd be like, oh man, this is my life. You know what I mean? So 385 shows was like whatever it takes to not have to go back to selling shoes.
I get that.
That would be an epiphany for sure.
Yeah.
I think I did that with radio. When I left skateboarding, I didn't feel like I'd done enough, and I didn't want to leave. It was like my body was like, we're leaving. And I was like, I don't want to leave. But my body was like, you should probably leave. And then radio, thanks to Tony, you know, like having me as a co-host. And then when I started, I was like, man, I got a natural ability at this, and I really enjoy it. And then I got asked to move to LA to be a DJ. And I just remember thinking, same mindset, do the same thing you did with skateboarding, but now that you've already done something in life where you know you can achieve something, it didn't matter how many hours, didn't matter what they offered me, I just did it. I did everything. Like at one point I was still doing demos, and they gave me like a little machine that I would plug in, and I did it in a pig pen. I did my show in a pig pen at the end of the demo, and I remember thinking, this is not very glamorous. You know, man, this is it's a bit of a whoa. You know, we're down here in a pig pen. How many people are actually listening to this crap? Because at the time it was a very small show.
We were on
you know,
tour and trying to do Sirius XM. Yeah, that was not the best use of our time.
Yeah, it was. It was
we made
difficult.
it work.
Yeah.
But I
got
just
us
remember,
here.
like you
Killing
said, I had this thing where I was like, it is going to work. Just keep doing it. Just keep whatever it is.
How did you transcend just being a musician to, I mean, we met for the first time was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
At Avril Lavigne's house.
Yes. Yeah.
That was the first time we ever met. I mean, this song, you know, Superman follows me around for the last 20 years of my life.
Yeah.
Like I've told the story, but I'll go into a coffee shop and all of a sudden they'll start playing it. Like,
Wow.
Or I was on the street in New York talking to someone, and it starts blasting out of this cafe, and I look over and everyone in the cafe is like, yo! So
It's such a weird song. There's no real chorus to it. It's like it's a very strange arrangement.
it's very much
long
well.
bridge.
If you think about it, it was so they had to make a 2-minute version because all the songs had to be 2 minutes for the media of the game when it first came out, and then that was the one that would get stuck in people's head, and that they came to learn about ska and punk through. I mean, I do believe that.
Yeah.
I was proud that we got Dead Kennedys on there.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like for me, that was a big moment. And
Holiday in Cambodia, was that it?
no, Police Truck.
Okay.
And then, so I was stoked on that, and Primus too, because that's of the same ilk from me. But the newer bands like Goldfinger, that was more the music department of Activision that got that going. So I credit them for that choice. But I mean, that song, I mean, it became the title of the documentary about the game. But what I was trying to get at is that I got invited to be in Avril's first TikTok.
Yeah.
And I thought that would be hilarious because she's like, I want to do Skater Boy as my first TikTok. I want you to be the Skater Boy. I was like, that sounds funny. Okay.
So good.
So then I brought my goddaughter up there and Lizzie Armanto to go meet her. And you were there. And it was just funny. That was the first time we met after having, both of us having such synergy with the game for so long. But you produced her album.
I did.
Right?
Yeah. That TikTok, by the way, I think it's like top 20 all time. That video that you did with her.
Yeah,
it's
skating on the mini ramp.
Oh, I saw it.
It's incredible. It just went so crazy. But yeah, I don't know. It's like no one's got a crystal ball. You can only connect the dots looking backwards, so I can only see how I got from selling shoes to here with you today by looking at how these moments happen.
But when did you start doing production?
I mean, it was really like in my head, I just wanted to be of service and be able to help another band do something. Like, when when I met the Used, the things changed for me. But I mean, like Goldfinger played a show at South by Southwest in Austin, and there was 20 kids going ballistic. And I'd written Superman. This is 1995. It was already a song in the set. And in the audience, there was a guy that booked the Sex Pistols tour. So we got that tour because of that show. Kevin Weatherly, that programmed K-Rock. So he added our song, because of that show. It's like just this one little show changed everything for our touring career, so you never know. And that led to us going on tour, 385 shows. It led to me meeting this band, Show Off, and then Mest in Chicago, because Q101 played the crap out of us. And I'm like, they're so good live. Those two bands are so good live, but their demos are awful. And I knew I could make them better. I just knew I could from my experience, in the music business so far. I mean, Tommy Lee produced my old band, and so he taught me so much. Tommy Lee was like just such a legend to me, and I'm like, I can give back. So I found the Used, and that's what really changed everything. That band just became modern rock radio. They changed everything. They discovered My Chemical Romance, and then like that whole scene, metalcore and screamo and all of it because of the Used, and I was such a big part of it.
Whoa. I didn't know any of
Good
that.
trajectory.
Yeah.
But you're
Holy
right.
shit.
It could be just that random one little show.
Yeah.
But you put as much heart into that one as you
Always. Every
did
time.
the bigger ones, and that's what matters. I mean, I do feel like I feel the same connection with that, especially doing skate demos where we were doing demos for 20 kids, but giving it our all because I don't want to half-ass it.
Yep.
And you never know that one kid that's going to become the next you is at that event.
He does that all the time. Like I see that. It's one of the biggest. It's not that difficult, maybe for him, but it's a thing that he does so regular. When there's like littler kids skating, he's always like. As I remember looking up to him when I was a kid. And I wasn't that much younger, but I still remember being, holy shit, there he is. And then seeing him walk over to a kid and go, hey man, like, if you want to help with that back there, or like, trying to give him a pointer. I'm like, giving a pointer to me when I'm like 12 and it's Tony Hawk. it's if you really love it and it could be something that you could go on and do, there's your door right there. Like that would trigger you to believe, because you think anything's possible. If Tony Hawk's talking to me, anything is possible, because you're already halfway there. It's a miracle in itself.
Hell yeah. Yeah, Bert, the singer for the Used, he snuck on our bus, and he was wasted.
Right.
He was such, I don't know if you know Bert, but he's
I do know him well.
He's a disaster in the best ways. A beautiful disaster, that kid.
Yeah, that's why we're such good friends.
Yeah. He snuck on our bus and threw the demo tape as our tour manager literally picked him up because he weighs about 60 pounds and threw him out the bus. And the next day I was just sitting on my bunk, for John Feldmann. And I put the demo tape in the back. It was a cassette. For all you kids that don't know what cassettes are, you can fuck off.
They're making a comeback.
I put my cassette in. Yeah, I think they are making a comeback actually. But I was like, I heard his voice and I'm like, dude, I've never heard him. He sounds like Michael Jackson with like Satan, like combined. It's like
I had a band and he sang a song on the album with me, and just came in and it was the lyrics are ridiculous.
Was it a screamy or a singy?
He did everything.
Okay.
Because we let him go.
Yeah.
It's like, here's the song, here's your verses, but at the end, go wild.
Yeah.
So he just did, and just did it. Like,
He'd have a
came
trash
in-
can whenever we recorded the first album,
Oh,
trash
yeah.
can, because he'd scream
Scream so much
hard,
he'd vomit.
He'd throw up.
I know.
He was like
That's- dude, he
all
did
or
it
nothing.
every gig for
Really?
a while. Yeah, like every
Yeah,
time
yeah.
he'd perform, he'd go that hard.
We showcased for Leor Cohen, who was running Island Records at the time, and he threw up all over Leor, the fucking CEO of the record label. And immediately, he's like, "Work. How do we sign this band? How do we sign this band?"
Oh, wow, nice work then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like that passion is like undeniable when you have it,
Right.
You know? So that whole thing changed everything for me, and it turned into. But it's like life is always whatever. It's like we have this huge explosion of all that shit, and then it's like rock music died, and it was like Skrillex and EDM, and my manager at the time was like, "You should change your name to DJ, like to become like like DJ Felchman or some shit." And I'm like,
Wow.
I'm like, no way. And I stayed the course. And then I met 5 Seconds to Summer, who like brought me into the pop world of everything. And that's kind of like I met Avril because I kind of became more of a pop producer, you know, and it all kind of just works out. I stayed the course. I said yes to everything.
Yep.
I just said yes to everything. You know, and it's like I meet kids these days that want to be a producer engineer, and they're like, well, I don't know about this project. I'm like, just do it. Just do it. When you're starting out, just do everything you can and learn. Sit in the background. I'll teach you how to make coffee. Make me a good coffee. You can stand behind me and you can watch how I work.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, it's so important. It's funny because we had this conversation last night because my wife, sometimes she's like, you know, I'll be doing some fun stuff like that, like singing with you guys, and it's just like, well, why? Why? Why are you doing that? Like, and I have to give it some pause. Like, why? I think it's a fun challenge.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm not aspiring to be a rock star, but then I guess what happens is because I do stuff like that, then I get asked to do more, and so at some point it gets a little.
That was fun, right, for you?
That was
doing
super
that?
fun, yeah. But I just mean it gets to eat up your time, and so that's her angle. Just like you have.
You could be hanging with me.
Or no, it's just like you have such limited time going to
Dude,
do
my
this
wife
stuff.
told me yesterday that my beard makes my face look fat, and in my head, my first thought was like, "You're fucking fat," but I didn't say anything. I just said nothing.
Oh my God.
I said nothing.
My conversations are not nowhere
Wow.
near that skewed.
My head still like goes crazy, but I've learned to pause, take a breath. You
I
know,
was gonna say
God.
that sounds like a familiar.
I mean, my wife is
reaction.
awesome, and she's
Yeah,
definitely
look a
not.
bit, I never.
no, not saying, just your internal dialogue.
Maybe I'm not going down. I'm not going down with his ship. He's on
She'll
his
never
own.
watch this, so I'm good.
Yeah, okay.
She'll never see this shit. She doesn't give a fuck. I played her a song yesterday. I wrote this song yesterday. I was with the Used, and I wrote the song about my mom's starting to get dementia, early onset dementia, and I wrote this really heartfelt song. And she goes, you know, those chords are so predictable. That's what she says to me. I'm like, but it's really good to have someone that's not a yes man around
Yeah.
me.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Yes.
there's so many people in my life that are like, oh,
Absolutely.
it's great.
Yeah.
Everything's great.
Yeah.
It's all great. And I'm like, it's not all. If it's all great, I'd be Max Martin or Paul McCartney. But it's like, I can't do that every day.
No, and to have a sounding board like that, especially someone you trust with
Yeah.
their opinion, that matters. And I agree with you too. Like there are, you know, when she says things like that, I'm like, yeah, maybe I don't. I don't know. You know, this isn't all necessary. It's fun for me, but I should keep it at a minimum.
Yeah.
That's basically it. That's the conversation.
Yeah, we've been together for 26 years, and she knows. I mean, me as well as anybody could ever know a human, and so she knows when I can do better, which is cool to have that, you
Right.
know. And we have a great marriage. I mean, ultimately, it's just so long as I keep my mouth shut. 90% of the time, we've got a great marriage, you know.
what's next for you and or Goldfinger?
Well, I started a record label called Big Noise with Nick Gross. He's my partner. This guy, John Cohen, that started Vagrant Records. He signed the 1975 and Dashboard Confessional on every single emo band ever. So we have a label together. And so we just signed the Veronicas, who are Australian from Brisbane. And they're kind of a rock, pop, dance kind of group. So I'm going to make a record with them. I'm going to finish the next Avril album. I'm with her all next week. And it's just,
Wow.
I mean, I haven't had a day off since the first of the year. So I've been kind of just going crazy since the beginning. But I don't know. It's always, something always comes. I met that kid Youngblood. I love that guy. He's amazing. Like just an amazing presence. That guy's got energy for days. But I don't know.
Do you feel like when you meet someone like him that you have an opportunity or a skill that, okay, I can amplify this that no one is seeing?
He makes me a better producer for sure, because I push harder, because he's got a barometer in his head of what's good and what's not good. He's got really good taste, so he knows. And if it's not good, and he's super positive, so it's never like that idea is bad or I don't like that. He's like, let's try and beat it. Let's do something better. It's always coming from a place of positivity with him. And so it challenges me because he's young, and it challenges me to drink more coffee and try and keep up with that shit, you know? But
That's fascinating.
yeah. I mean, it's a really, what I do is very unique. It's like, I don't know, the idea of being able to write songs to people and produce it and take it to the finish line is something that, like, as a kid, I didn't even know that this job existed, like what a music producer does, you know? But just like you, it's like at some point in my life, I was like, my shin splints, my knee surgeries, I'm like, I got to figure out a way out, you know? And it's like, and it wasn't like something as a kid that I thought, like George Martin is probably my favorite producer who produced the Beatles, you know? I didn't look to him and say, I want to be like that. I just looked at the Used thinking I can make their songs sound better. And then they got a record deal. And then I got offered a job as an A&R guy because I discovered the Used. Then I discovered Story of the Year and all these other bands, you know, like 21 Pilots and all these other groups. And it just kind of became a secondary career, but it wasn't like what I went after, but it just came because I was trying to be a service.
Is it hard to make adjustments to produce completely different music genres?
Well, it just depends. Like I produced that band Disturbed, you know them?
Yeah.
They're like a metal band, and they were just tough overall, just tough personalities. And that's the hardest thing for me is like the psychologist in the room to hear about, you know, we're writing songs about, you know, bad parenting or breakups or, you know, horrific life experiences. And then you get to know these people. And then sometimes people are just hard, tough personalities. And they were tough.
You mean like you couldn't connect with them on coming up with a concept, or like?
I mean,
they
one of
didn't
the
want to
guys in
listen
the band
to you?
had gout, so his foot was all in the thing, and he's like just drinking and eating steak, and I'm like,
Wait,
and
he's
you've
got gout and he's
you're
drinking.
like, and the singer was checking his heart pulse because he had heart problems, and I'm like,
Oh my God.
and I'm boxing because I work out every day, and I'm like training, and I'm like, you want to train with me? Like, I don't know, and it's just you know those situations are a little tough.
But also, you compromise what you're doing as a producer when you're trying to bring out the best.
Yeah.
And then
there's
if
got to be a give and take.
Yeah.
I can't write 100% of a song. It's got to, for another artist.
Yeah.
They've got to have some input, or else it's
Yeah.
going to be just a Goldfinger song with a different singer. And that's not what I want to do.
Right.
I want to help.
But they weren't. I'm sorry. I don't want to make them look bad or anything, but they didn't want to communicate, and they're almost dying.
That's what
it was
That
like.
is literally what it felt like to me. Maybe it wasn't that way, but I felt like I was about to call 911. Like it was like 911, when's the one coming? You know, on my phone. It was pretty weird.
Oh man.
Yeah, but there's been some tough personalities. I mean, it's like, you know, if most people that want to be in a band don't really come from the best upbringing. There's not a lot of support there. Most people, you know, I mean, there's always exceptions. Like Avril has great parents and Youngblood has great parents. But most of the bands I've worked with, there's someone in the band that's just a little edgier than your normal human.
Yep, I get that.
You know?
Do you become a father figure to some of them?
For sure.
Right, yeah.
100%. With 5 Seconds to Summer, it was like those guys looked to me as like someone, yeah, for sure.
Right.
You know?
Because they probably didn't have much of one themselves.
Some did, some didn't. Yeah, and they're lovely, lovely people. And
You're
it was
like a musical father.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it was really, that was such a cool experience because they'd play like the Forum, and it was just like they'd invite me to play drums with them and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'd go on stage and just like it just felt like it was such a great thing to watch a band come from nothing, in Sydney. They grew up in Castle Hill in their little, van touring the country and move over here, open for One Direction, and then become this game-changing band, like a boy band, which I'd never experienced that sort of success on that level.
Have you ever experienced helping somebody grow, then they blow up, and then they turn into a complete asshole?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
What is the percentage of talent that becomes successful and turns into an asshole?
I mean, it's just, I don't know about asshole. It's just the ghosting and the sort of like better than.
That's what I mean.
That whole thing.
I'm being harsh, but I'm also being a little bit reality based. Like, you kind of become too cool.
I work with this one band that I got him signed to Warner Brothers. I got the biggest manager on the fucking planet, Jonathan Daniel, to manage him. I got him, the best co-writers. And then 2 weeks into it, he sleeps with the head of the label's wife in their house when he's asleep. Sleeps with him. And then I find out about it. And so I have to be the guy that bears the bad news. And it's like, it was just the worst. And I felt like I was to blame because I introduced him, the head of the label and this guy. And I was like, so I felt guilty. It was terrible.
Isn't it his wife's fault too?
That's the next level, though.
Of course. But dude, I mean, I don't know. Just keep it in your pants.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How hard? I mean, how hard can it be? That
He
if
was
you're
so
in
close.
a band already,
Yeah.
you've got, you
But
can
you
figure
made the
it out.
connection, so
I made the
you-
connection,
yeah.
so I felt terrible.
But you had to tell him.
I had to tell him. Yeah. Once I found out, of course, because what are you going to do? Not say anything? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, is that what, did I do the right thing?
Yeah,
Am
you're
I-
being the bigger man for sure, but it's like maybe I could let somebody else tell him, but that is very respectable of you,
Yeah.
not him.
But yeah, people in bands like to drink and do drugs and like women and all of it. So it's all part of like the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, because I don't drink now. I mean, I had a long period where I was actually by a there's a hot dog stand right by Sidecar Donuts, and I thought about Tijuana. I'm like, because I used to go to Tijuana every weekend when I lived in San Diego. I went to Mesa Junior College, after I couldn't
that was
figure
the
out.
thing. Yeah,
that was the thing.
Well, because you can go drink there when you're 18 or
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I go every weekend when I was 17, 18, 19 and just get wasted, donkey show, whatever, like the worst of the worst of the worst. We drank with this guy El Diablo once that I blacked out drunk, and my roommate at the time got kidnapped by El Diablo and thrown into a sex ring. Like a kid, like he was thrown into it. He escaped, came back 2 months later, but it was like shit happens and it's so gnarly.
that took a turn.
Yeah, sorry.
We used to go down there and buy a poncho and come back.
One of my
That was
friends
our
got
experience.
arrested for peeing in public, and then we had to give them a bunch of money, and they
Yeah.
let us go.
Oh yeah,
That's
I went to
crazy
jail in
stuff.
Mexico. It's not rad.
No.
not
Rad at all.
In
But yeah, I don't-
Tijuana or just...
in Rosarito, but I was working with 5 Seconds of Summer, and I was just thinking about like, because they were like, why don't you drink? What would happen? I'm like, I break out in handcuffs and institutions. And they're like, what does that even mean? They're like, what are you talking about? And they're like, did you ever get kicked out of school? I'm like, yeah, I got kicked out of school. Did you ever get a DUI? I'm like, yeah, I got a DUI. And they're like, you ever hook up with a dude? I'm like, let's get back to work right now. It's like drinking was like a whole different life. for
Yeah,
me.
I've done all those. Pretty casual.
What has been the most fun either show or project that you've got to do?
I mean, the Blink 182 project was incredible for me. I grew up with Travis. We came up in bands together. He was in the Aquabats, and Goldfinger took the Aquabats out on one of our first tours ever. And they were opening for us. And it was like, I let Travis ride on our bus because I'm like, this kid, I've never seen anyone play drums like this kid ever. And he was such a little guy. And I'm like, just took him under my wing and just let him ride on our bus. And so we just became homies. And it's like, then he joined Blink. And then after 5 Seconds of Summer, who his kids loved, he hit me up. He's like, dude, you want to take a meeting with my band, and Tom DeLonge just left. Matt Skiba joined the band. And so we just, started from a blank slate and just started writing songs. Hoppus and I started writing songs together, and it just became like That was one of the funnest things I've ever done in my life.
Did you tour with them too when that album came out?
No, I would go see shows, but Goldfinger didn't tour with them or anything. It was like, I think it was A Day to Remember. That whole tour was probably 2 years with A Day to Remember and them.
It was pretty cool. Blank played our very first fundraiser. I think it was 2004. We had at a bowling alley for what used to be the Tony Hawk Foundation. And then 10 years later, one of their first shows when they got back together was our same event that had kind of grown in size and got better venues and stuff. But it was really cool that we got to bookend that.
Yeah, that's incredible. They're such a great band. I mean, they're like one of those legacy acts that just keeps making, they write great songs. They're great people. They're great live show. Just run one of those bands, you know? And so we got nominated for a Grammy for that album, California. So that was huge for me to be nominated for a Grammy.
Yeah.
You know, and this band that I found, Fever 333, they got nominated for a Grammy, and I produced that record with Travis. So it all kind of like, I don't know, it's like
Wow.
full circle.
When you say you found, do you just like look around, or are you talking about people give
I probably
you?
get 50 a day submissions. People send it to an email, you know, and then I just listen. I listen to everything.
How long does it take for you to know whether you would want to work with somebody?
That's such a great question. Maybe 16 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like you get a particular talent, you'll hear the voice or like do you ever catch one of the musicians and go, that guy's definitely going to make it, but I don't know about the rest?
For sure.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it's like, I mean, there's no absolutes in music because, you know, if there were, Craig Aronson, who was he passed away, but he was one of my all-time heroes in the music business. And he, you know, he's the one that signed My Chemical Romance because of The Used, and he begged me to produce their record, and I was like, I just didn't get it. I was wrong. I was so wrong about that band, you know? And it's like, so there are no absolutes, but one of the things I've noticed, if there's no vocals within the first like 20 seconds of a song, typically the vocals are terrible. Like if they wait a while before the singer starts playing in. So if I'm listening to a song and I'm half a minute in and there's no vocals, I'm like, this isn't going to work. I know it's not going to work. So there's definitely things that I notice. And if they don't get to the chorus, like I'm in pop music. I don't do prog rock. I don't do like jazz. So it's you know, there are certain rules to what I do, like getting to the hook, the catchy part of the song within a minute is typically what happens. And if I'm listening and I'm a minute and a half in and there's still nothing that's like stuck in my head as an earworm, I'm going to move on to the next thing, you know? And I want someone that sounds unique and different. I want a singer that doesn't sound like I get so many singers that just sound like Tom DeLonge, like demos, people that just sound like Blank.
Have you ever given constructive criticism and they did not take it well?
Yeah, there was a band called Foxy Shazam who I worked with. They were arguably the best live band I've ever seen. The singer would light a pack of cigarettes in his mouth, and he was so fit, this guy. I mean, he was so in shape, and he was like
That's a very
gymnast.
confusing thing that you're putting together right now.
No, but he would I know, it is weird.
Get to the rest of it.
Light a whole pack of cigarettes and then eat them.
Wait, while they were lit?
And he would show me his mouth after the show with all these blisters.
And he would do it all the time?
And he sang like Freddie Mercury. This guy was an anomaly.
Whoa.
He was a unicorn. They were the best live bands. And I gave him, you know, I just told him their drummer he was like Bruce Springsteen. He was like that good of a front man. Yeah. And he just wouldn't listen to the label. He wouldn't listen to me. And he just, you know, you guys don't know who they are. And it's like,
I've heard of them, but can't say I'd.
But yeah, they didn't become Bruce Springsteen.
But they had the potential.
Oh, for sure. It happens so many times. Album 2 as well becomes that.
Who?
Album 2,
the
second album for artists, like they want to change everything up and do something.
I had Andrew Dice Clay on my Sirius show a long time ago, and it was one of those things where I was like, "Oh, cool!" And the boss of the station was like, he wants to have his kids on. They have a band, and they want to come on as well. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I just want to talk to him. And then he came on. And then he had his 2 sons, because they're in the band. He had them come in, and he's like, let me play you their demo. And I got like a big fan base that are listening, and I know if I lie, they'll eat me up.
Yeah.
And they play it, and it's not good. It's not good.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, you know way more than me, but I guarantee you that you would have agreed with me where, yeah, maybe next time. Like right now, no, I'm not hearing any catchy. I'm not hearing any talent. It sounded, so I just said when I was playing, I was like, have you guys been signed yet?" And then he said, "No." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't think you're ready yet." And Andrew went off
On you?
Yeah, he tried to fight me.
Like physically fight
Oh
you?
yeah, he got up on the table and stood over me, and I was like, "Don't do it." And he said, "I've had fight. I've fought tougher people than you." And I was like, "I don't think you have."
You said that?
Yeah. And then these kids wanted to fight me too.
What?
Yeah, they lost it on me.
Holy shit.
And it was really, I didn't want to do that. I like Andrew Dice Clay. You pushed the song on, and the song was not like good enough. And I said, I didn't think it was good enough. I didn't say, "You know what, you kids suck." Like I said it as friendly as possible, but it turned into a really big thing.
He was so good in A Star Is Born, wasn't he? Did you see that movie, A Star Is Born, the Lady Gaga movie?
Nah.
Andrew Dice Clay's great. He plays her dad.
Oh, wow. He did become kind of good at acting.
Yeah, he's really good in it. I mean, it's such a good movie.
I mean, he's a very talented human.
That sucks he tried to fight you.
I really did. It really, but like everyone was like, "That was the coolest show ever." And I'm like, I'm happy for you guys, but for me, that was not cool. Like I did not want to make him think, if you ever see Jason Ellis around him, he'd be like, he kept calling me asshole dick face, I think.
Oh.
He lost it. He lost
That's original.
It was fun. It was funny. Like I didn't, but if I laughed, that would be more offensive.
Yeah.
I just sat there and went, "Okay, like, sorry."
I don't really like get physical.
Andrew, if you see this, you just like his wife, you're probably not gonna, but I'm sorry. I didn't mean that.
I got a little taste of that, not someone trying to fight me about it, but when the game started taking off and suddenly people thought I was the conduit to success for their bands.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, "Dude, this game belongs, this song belongs on your game." Like, man, I don't know if it does, but
I'm sure.
It was really hard to deflect that kind of stuff, especially because I would be out and about and people were just like, "Oh, please listen to this right now. This has to be on your game."
Well, if I wrote that song in 1994 and it's 2023, what is that, 30 years, 20 years?
Yeah.
I'm terrible at math. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know anything.
Yeah.
We're coming up on
28,
30.
yeah,
We're
coming up on 30. Coming up on 30 that I wrote the song, and it still has such an impact. It's our biggest streaming song. It's the song we play last every night. It's the biggest circle pit stage diving song of our set. Like, I don't blame these bands for wanting to get to you.
I get it. I was like, where are we going with this? Yeah. It's the song that if anyone has footage of me and they make a video edit of me skating, they use that song.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I'm not talking about people I work with. I'm just saying if someone catches me skating, they're just like, yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I can't thank you enough. I'm so grateful.
Oh, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you guys even offering it up and how it became sort of this sound. It became the soundtrack. Like it became the soundtrack song to our game series without question. It's the one that everyone associates with it. So thanks for writing it. Thanks for inviting me to do it on stage with you.
Are you going to do more? Would you have him up again? Because I'm a huge fan. I'm probably his biggest fan.
I'm not trying to make a career.
Every time I see a video of it, I'm like, "Oh, I got to watch it. Oh my God, there he is. He's really singing." Like I'm trying to block out the whole
Anytime that you're in
band.
the vicinity, man, you're invited. Anytime.
Oh, thank you.
For sure. Yeah, I think Nick our drummer just became an investor in the X Games. So you never know. If you're there, we're there.
Ooh, that would be a good one. Yeah, I'm one of the investors too.
Oh, you are? Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So next X Games, I'm not saying anything, but it could be in a vicinity that would be convenient to both of us. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that'd be epic.
Ooh,
There you go. That's it.
I want to get back on that
That's
team.
all I got. All right.
I want to be a vote announcer.
Yeah, I'm trying not to get. I mean, I can't believe that guy did that. It's like, look, I feel like if I have to fight, I'll be okay, but I don't ever want to fight.
Oh yeah,
You know, like.
people think because I train and I've had like pro MMA fights.
Oh, you have?
Yeah,
Sick.
and because I have tattoos that I want to fight people on the street. Like I think the average person is probably more calm about it than I am. Like I don't like it. Like a confrontation where someone's like, "What's up?" I'm like, "Oh, what's up?" Like I don't know, man. Like really, you really want to do this? Like we're gonna get cut, and like police are probably gonna cut. Yeah, like do you realize like how much This
is an inconvenience.
We're all
in
gonna
my
lose.
day.
We're both gonna lose in this. Like
Yeah.
nobody wins.
I got my jaw broke when I was in high school. I went to this party, and this guy, it was the football team's party. You know, they were all in their jerseys, and I was like the anti-jock in high school. Of course, we all were, right? Sort of to a certain extent. And they just called me the F word, and I'm like, I just said, fuck jocks. And then the quarterback I mean, the whole team's there. I'm drunk, runs at me, knocks me out, breaks my jaw. And I've got my jaw wired shut for 7 weeks in high school. It was the worst.
Wow.
I remember I'd have to drink.
That sounds like such a cliche 80s movie
So 80s,
moment.
dude.
But for us, where it'd be like, yeah, that we would sure.
Yeah,
You know,
it happened. And
yeah.
I'd drink like those protein shakes, you know, because I couldn't eat food. And I remember I'd try and pick up girls with my jaw wired shut and be like, if I throw up, I'm going to die. That would be my pickup line for girls. Like, I was the worst. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
But still pretty punk rock.
Still don't want, I don't want to have my jaw broke ever again.
That's pretty fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I've
not
had
fun.
it. It's not like, man, I can't wait to do this again.
Yeah.
It's like, that's
Are
bad.
you still fighting?
No, I actually retired on the show the other day. I was going to have one more fight because this other guy that was not very good was trying to fight me. And I was like, having a fight at 51 is pretty cool. And I'll beat him for sure. But just like I said, everybody lose. Like, I don't plan on getting completely away with everything. Like, I'm pretty sure I'll get hit.
Yeah.
And getting hit in the head with all my skateboard slams and all the other things.
Andrew Huberman was here as a
Yeah.
guest and basically talked him out of it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at a show. I mean, since all my leg shit, I was at a show when we were opening for the Sex Pistols, and first song, someone filled his whole beer bottle with piss and just threw it on me, song 1, and just covered. I'm drenched in piss. It's like, I'm on stage opening for the Sex Pistols, and I just dove out there with my microphone. I just punched him with my mic in the forehead.
Yeah.
And I could see the thing swell up. But it's like those moments where you feel like, okay, there's probably a reason I should defend myself.
Yeah.
And that was one of those times where I'm like, I can't just take
Right.
a bottle of piss
Yep.
thrown at me.
I'm okay with that one.
But usually I just, it's okay.
Right. It is the older you
That's
get.
a rough one, though. That
Yeah,
that one's-
Dude's urine in your mouth.
Wow.
That's not what I'm into. these
And
days.
he's kind of disrespecting your band as well, not just you.
100%.
Like, you're like saying, like F all of you. I mean, all you guys. And I'm like, you know what? Nah.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to be cool with that.
Yeah, I think that game. I mean, I got so much esteem. It's like self-esteem by standing my ground.
Yeah.
And staying on stage and not being like, oh, what is this? And
Yeah.
leaving. I stayed there and I played the whole set.
Because you
and
won.
I did the whole thing. And it's
Yeah.
like, I had a friend of mine I was working with just was on tour, 21 Pilots, and he was getting harassed for something else and he quit the tour. And I'm like, oh man, it's not what you do.
Yeah.
You don't quit. You
Yep.
just,
I mean,
don't
that's
quit.
how you get good at anything.
That's it.
So if you start doing it for other reasons, how'd you get here in the first place is my question.
Yeah.
Like, you don't quit. That's how I got good. That's how I'm an amazing bass player or a drummer, because I never stopped. And everyone doesn't like me today. No, that's not going to be enough. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 100%.
Thanks, John. For
Thank
joining
you
us.
for having
Thanks,
me.
man.
I
Thanks
appreciate you.
Thanks for your contribution to our game, and for I'm just glad that we finally got to connect after all this time.
Epic. Yeah. Now we'll eat some donuts. Love it.
Oh, yeah, I want to do that. Like and describe.